Caught up in my job, didn't see what's going on, but now I know I'm better sleeping on my own. 'Cause if you like the way you look that much, oh baby, you should go and fuck yourself. And if you think that I'm still holding on to something, you should go and fuck yourself. Hey guys, this is the Recklessly Skeptical Podcast. My name's Matt, and this is Joe.
And my name is Josh.
We want you guys to find this podcast and listen to it. You can find it on Spreaker and on YouTube. And if you don't mind, go check out our other YouTube channels, The Evil Atheist, and Josh's channel is ZZZ Giant Awake. Please subscribe, like, share, do all that fucking shit for us, please.
Yeah, do it or we'll fucking hunt you down and gut you like a fish.
Yes, it's true. Joe's very serious. Today is March 27th. Wait,
they can also find us on Facebook at
the
the Evil Atheist Group page.
Yes, you have to request to join. It's a closed group, and it's the Evil Atheist. Atheist was plural, so do that.
It's a lot of fun.
And in all earnestness, really, we do appreciate any support we get. And you don't have to be an atheist to join us on Evil Atheists, too.
Yeah. We allow Christians and other people to
as long as you're not there to proselytize, we'll let you in.
Yes.
Yep. Alrighty, well, today is March 27th, 2016. It's Zombie Jesus Day, guys.
Yay! Zombie Jesus got up early this morning and hid a bunch of eggs for us.
Yay.
Zombie Jesus. I can just see him putting like an egg in the bush. All sorts of slow. The kids like the eggs. I saw the funniest meme. It was it was a picture of Jesus, and he's on the cross, and they're poking him with a stick, and they say, "Any last requests?"
Oh, I saw that one.
And he says, "Hide the eggs."
That's awesome. Well, today is Zombie Jesus Day, so I wanted to read a little bit from David Fitzgerald's book, Nailed, 10 Christian Myths That Show Jesus Never Existed at All. And something kind of funny, I met David Fitzgerald, and he signed it, and he said, "For Matt, yours in Christ, David Fitzgerald."
Very cool.
That is pretty cool.
So this is just talking about the historicity of Jesus Christ. So I'm just going to read a little bit. It's a little long, but I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a great book. Go check it out. All right, here we go. To recap, there are no contemporary accounts of Christ from any source, in or outside the Bible. Indeed, only one writer on the apologists list even comes close to being a near contemporary, though he was born years after Jesus' alleged death, with an account written some 60 years after the time suggested for the crucifixion. Jewish historian Yosef bar Matatawa, I'm sure I demolished that, better known to us as Josephus. Everybody's heard of Josephus. In the year 93 or 94, Josephus wrote his Antiquities of the Jews, which contains two disputed passages many hold up as historical evidence for Jesus. The first is the so-called Testimonium Flavianum, a snippet that interrupts an otherwise gloomy chapter to bring us this brief but glowing summary of Jesus' miraculous career. So, quote, this is what Josephus wrote. "Now there was about this time Jesus, a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a man, for he was a doer of wonderful works, a teacher of such men as receive the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles. He was the Christ. And when Pilate, at the suggestion of the principal men amongst us, had condemned him to the cross, those that loved him at the first did not forsake him, for he appeared to them alive again the third day, as the divine prophets had foretold these and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him. And the tribe of Christians, so named from him, are not extinct at this day." End quote. And David Fitzgerald's goes on to explain this. The passage is so blatantly counterfeit that no historians today deny it is a later Christian forgery. The only debate is over how much of it is a forgery. Still, wishful apologists try to argue that Josephus really did mention Jesus, and over-enthusiastic scribes merely embellished his account. They even tried to reconstruct the original testimonium. There's two accounts in Josephus, and he's the most closest to being a contemporary of Jesus, but he was born after Jesus supposedly.
How long? 60 years?
Yeah, he wrote that about 60 years after the supposed death of Jesus.
And that's the first time Jesus was ever mentioned in anything, right?
Yes, that we have record of. And besides, like, the Bible. But we don't know who wrote the Bible. We don't have no original copies.
Well, it was God.
Oh, yes. Yes, it was. And
sorry.
So of those two, one of them, most historians think it's a forgery.
Yeah.
And then the second one, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's real vague, and it just mentions some guy named Jesus.
Yeah, it's almost as in passing, right? It was just like...
And the one
day I was walking down the street, and this guy Jesus walked by me, basically.
Yeah.
It's that vague.
Yes, and this one that's like, he rose the third day, and he is Christ, most historians agree that one is a forgery.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, and it's a great book. David Fitzgerald's Nailed, 10 Christian Myths that show Jesus never existed at all.
First? What in the
Whoa,
hell?
whoa. Audio.
Josh, are we getting paid for that commercial?
No.
We fucking better be.
I don't have control over some of the stupid stuff that auto-pops when I'm on these news sites.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right, well, we should start getting paid for those.
Yeah.
I say if we're doing a podcast, we just contact them and be like, hey, we're doing a podcast and your fucking thing, your commercial showed up in the middle of our podcast. We want to get paid.
Yeah, you can get on that. How about that?
Okay, I'll get on it tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so was there anything else you wanted to say about that quote or?
No, just happy Zombie Jesus Day. Jesus probably didn't exist, and even if he did, there's no way to prove that he was the Son of God or any sort of supernatural being.
Well, Easter is derivative, right, from Esther. She was a Greek god, and they would celebrate her during spring, on the spring equinox. She was a Greek goddess.
Yeah.
And she represented eggs and,
fertility
and all that shit.
It's like most Christian holidays, they're stolen from pagan traditions.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep, that good old Christianity assimilating and claiming everything.
You will be assimilated.
So
Resistance is futile.
I have a couple of what I consider interesting facts that I ran across that feel fitting into Zombie Jesus Day.
Okay.
So the first one is there are two terms. Like they used to be worried about swearing or using the Lord's name in vain, so they come up with semi-swear words.
Oh, okay.
Two of them that have origins from the 17th century. One is Zounds, and the other one is Gadzooks. So what do you think those are, Joe?
Zounds?
Zounds.
And Gadzooks.
And Gadzooks. Maybe Gadzooks is goddammit, or...
So Zounds refers to the holes in Christ's hands, the wounds. Christ's wounds is how it translates.
Where the M&Ms fall through?
Yes, where the M&Ms fall through. Those are the Zounds. And Gadzooks, now that you know Zounds, what do you think Gadzooks is?
Huh.
It is...
the sword?
It translates into God's hooks, which is talking about the nails that were driven through Christ's hands and feet.
Really? Those were swear words?
Yeah, those were their that's why, if you've ever heard Gadzooks or Zounds, that's where the origin is. Like, it sounds like a really PG way of swearing, but yeah, that they have deep meaning in that
Gadzooks
symbolization. Yeah. So next time you go Gadzooks, now you know what you're talking about.
We're talking about you down.
We're talking about
you like
9-inch
a fish
nails.
and hang you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
9-inch nails, Gadzooks.
Yep.
That's what they should change their band name into.
Yeah, for real, Gadzooks.
Man, have you heard Gadzooks' new album? It's awesome, man.
Trent Reznor's band, Gadzooks. It's like totally cool, man.
All right, so we have on the board voter suppression.
Yeah, this shit is fucked up.
Yeah, Joe is quite passionate about this subject. Do
Oh,
you have
yeah.
a news story pulled up, or do you want
You
me
know
to go
what? I
through the
don't.
news
I
and
just
we'll-
want to talk about it and throw things and just.
Why don't we go in through the platform of talking about? I've got a news story pulled up, which is what caused the advertisement, mind you. Sorry, everybody. There was Maricopa County specifically in Arizona. There were a lot of voters that weren't able to vote or had to stay late to vote, and there was a lot of issues with that. So in Pima County in Arizona, there were 300,000 voters eligible. How many polling places do you think they had? And this is not the one that had the problem.
How many?
130.
And that's it.
Yeah, no,
300,000 people, eligible voters, and they had 130 fucking polling places.
Yes, but this wasn't the county that had the problem. They were able to get through 300,000 people with 130 polling places. So that wasn't where they had the main issue.
Yeah.
Now Maricopa County has 1,250,000 voters eligible.
Are
So
you
more
fucking kidding me?
like triple.
Quadruple.
And they've had what, 200 in the past, 200 polling places in the past, and they cut down all the way to 60 fucking polling places.
Yes.
For how many people?
1,250,000 eligible voters.
That is
60,
insane.
and they were saying it's like 25,000 people for each polling place.
That is so
And
unrealistic.
and keep in mind that their caucus was only open for 2 hours from 6 to 8, and when they called it, when they were at 100 fucking %, all the voters came out. We have 100% of the votes, and it goes to Hillary. There were still people waiting in mile-long fucking lines waiting to vote when they fucking called it at 100%.
So here's the story,
which
real
is
quick.
bullshit.
Sorry. Yeah, let's get into the story real quick. So voters, and this is from the AZ Central newspaper. Voters experienced long lines at polls for Arizona's presidential primary Tuesday because of fewer voting sites this year in Maricopa County. Skipping ahead, more than 4 hours after polling places closed, technically, hundreds of people were still in line to vote at the Salvation Army office in the 3rd Avenue in downtown Phoenix. And Bernie Sanders talked about this, where he said, we don't know how many people didn't get to vote, and we don't know if they're Bernie supporters or Hillary supporters. We just know they didn't get to vote.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter who they were supporting. They should be able to get to vote.
Well, as an American, or as a fucking human being on this planet, you should be able to have the right to cast your vote. One person, one vote. It's fucking bullshit. And you're exactly right. If it's for Hillary, if it's for Bernie, if it's for fucking Trump, you have the right to cast your vote.
Well, here's the thing. This is this type of shit that our government does. They know that our first line of defense against a tyrannical government is our ability to vote. So what do? What do they try to do? They take away our ability to vote.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, in that Manitowoc fucking county or whatever it was. So think about this. Most people over the age, I can't remember what it was like 40, all the older people who are voting for Hillary, who don't go on social media, all they do is watch regular media, they all fucking voted the day before through the mail.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And then they suppress all the young people who actually go out to caucus.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. That's the DNC for you. That's all this shit. But I wanted to point out, I don't know when you're going to get this up online. If you do get it up sometime today, I just wanted to point out that tomorrow, or March 28th, in Arizona, they're going to, at the Arizona House of Representatives, they'll be taking your public testimony on the election fraud. There.
Yeah, so they're doing an investigation into this because it was obviously a stupid decision to cut down from 200 polling places to 60 polling places, if not outright
for over
suppression.
1 million people.
And this is so Democrats are supposed to be the good guys. They're supposed to be on because there has been voter suppression of blacks in the past in the South, especially, and that's supposed to be like people point out, oh, that's the Republicans. That's the Republicans. The Democrats would never do that, and this proves that that's not true. That's not true at all. I read an article that's showing that at every time that Bernie's lost in the last few states, like in Illinois and in Ohio, that people who show up the same day to vote, they're voting about 50-50. So it's the early voters who are casting more towards Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they suppress the same day voting, then it hurts Bernie more because it has fewer people able to turn up.
Exactly.
Okay, so now here's the news that I told you I was going to tell you guys prior to the podcast before we started.
Yeah.
So New York's coming up on April 19th, and Bernie just had a big win Saturday. I'm sure a lot of his supporters are now like really happy about it.
Really pumped.
And really pumped, yeah.
But New York is Clinton territory.
Even then, like, you can still have a grassroots movement upheave, that sort of a thing. We've talked about in the past, closed primaries tend to favor Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
But in New York, they have a closed primary, and so it's kind of like, oh, well, maybe she'll do about as good as the polls. Maybe this surge will help Bernie overthrow her now moving forward.
You had to be registered by October 19th.
No.
Is that the one?
March 25th.
March 25th.
As in last Friday. As in before those results came in.
Really?
Yeah. So
God.
Now, one of the primary reasons for calling people and doing the phone banks is to get independents to switch to Democrats, so that way they can vote in the primary. Now New Yorkers cannot switch from independent to Democrat anymore. It's closed. Like, they're done. They are not taking any more people registering to vote.
Are you serious?
I'm absolutely
serious.
Because
New York isn't till April 19th.
Yeah, they stopped allowing people to register for the primary on March 25th.
See, and that's the thing. They make voting so fucking complicated that it's impossible to vote. It's easier to buy a gun in Arizona than it is to vote.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? And so that's the thing. That's what we need to change. That's one big thing we need to change. We need to. I just signed a petition yesterday for a voters' bill of rights. It's a voting bill of rights. We need a bill of rights for voting. It needs to say, this is your right. This is what it is. There's no fucking changing it. Here it is. Flat out in the open, because they do this every year. They change the fucking rules. They change the laws and the rules and the laws, and they just make it as complicated as possible so you can't vote. You need to be able to vote.
Yeah, and me and Matt have talked about this off air, where we both feel like it should be open in both sides, Republican and
across the board, across the country.
Across the board, across the country, they should make it easy. It doesn't matter who you are. If you owe the fucking government money, they know exactly who you are and where you live. Why does it need to be the same way? Or it needs to be the same way when you are born and turn 18. They know where you live. They know who you are. You go out and you vote, and it's easy. It should be simple as fuck. They should have polling places on every fucking corner of the fucking street. So, I'm running to work. That way you're not fighting crowds or whatever. It's like stopping by a mailbox or something. They need to make it easier, or give everybody the day off. It should be a national holiday.
That's what I was about to say. Isn't there legislation being brought up to make it a federal holiday?
There has been some legislation drafted, and I'm not sure if he did introduce it, but he wanted to, and guess who that is?
Bernie Sanders.
Yes, of course.
Everybody should be able to vote.
Yeah, it should be your right. Here's the thing: are you free? Are you really a free person to make your own decisions? If you can't vote, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, if you can't go to the government and give them your 2 cents, and have everybody else give them your 2 cents and have them not listen to you, are you really living in a free nation?
It's hard to argue that you would be.
Yeah, exactly. They should make it easy. They should make it simple. They should make it foolproof, and they should make it so it can't be corrupted like the way it is now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's move forward to the results. So the results from Tuesday were pretty awesome, except for the Arizona situation.
It was a fucking fiasco.
Yeah. So also voting that day was Utah and Idaho.
Yep.
We are in Utah right now. I think all three of us made it out to the caucuses.
Yep, we went and
sure
caucused.
did.
Yep.
I caucused real good.
I caucused so hard.
Yeah. So we went. I went out. It was awesome. It was really overcrowded. It'd been nice if they had a quicker way of doing it, but I think they did the best they could with the numbers they had.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Utah normally turns out that many Democrats.
And
No,
I
it
talked
doesn't.
to a guy there who is running for a local office, local position. So he was going through the line. He was a Democrat, and he was saying that being in a red state here in Utah, they have to get money allocated to them for their caucus from the state.
Yeah.
And he talked about how the Republicans here in Utah make it harder for them to get money to do their caucus, to do the caucus here in Utah.
Yeah, there was someone at my polling location as well. It was a woman. I don't remember her name, but she was running for House or something too. And I didn't talk to her and stuff. But
were you in the same location as me, just by chance?
Where'd you go?
Some school on 78th.
Or I went to East Sandy Elementary.
Okay, so no, I was at a middle school.
Oh, okay.
I was downtown and it was crazy.
I currently live in the suburbs of Salt Lake City, and we went to just a little school out here in the suburbs. It was funny because we showed up early, of course, me and my girlfriend Holly and the baby. We showed up pretty early. I think it was around 5:15. It didn't start until 6. We got there. There was maybe 7 or 8 people in front of us, and we were just sitting there. And then, it's funny. People started lining up behind us in this hallway, and I think one of the representatives or somebody comes out and he looks and he's like, "Oh my gosh, we're halfway down the hall. I've never seen this before." And and what's funny is when we left, which was no more than an hour later, it went all the way down the hall, outside the front of the school, down the side of the school, and the line started going down the street. And there were still people showing up. When I was leaving, there were still people looking for parking spots, getting out of their cars. And this guy was freaking out about it being halfway down the hall.
Yeah, and I had to wait for a registration form for more than an hour, and I know that there were polling places that ran out of actual ballots. And they had to wait for a long time. But that's encouraging. Like that's a good
sign.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to point out half the people I saw there were wearing, more than half were wearing Bernie stickers and Bernie gear, and I was really proud. I was really proud of our state.
Yeah. So in Arizona, Hillary won, I think, right around 60-40. Yep. She took home 44 delegates to Bernie's 31. I'm on 538.com, spelt out. If you want to look that up, just Google 538. In Idaho, they also had a good turnout and they had an open caucus. They won. Bernie won 18 delegates to Hillary's 5 and took home about 80% of the popular vote. And same with Utah, was about 80%.
Yeah.
And Bernie took home 27 delegates to Hillary's 6 here at home, which is again one of those times where
that's
you're like,
so cool,
because that's one of those things. Utah is one of those states where you're kind of like ashamed of it most of the time, and then, every once in a while something awesome will happen, and you'll be encouraged.
On the Republican side, we totally went for Cruz.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, you look at who your choices are. I mean, I would prefer Kasich, but Trump, Cruz. I mean, they're shitbags all the way.
And it's actually a good thing in my mind that Cruz won, because I want to see Trump
I do win delegates, because Utah on the Republican side was winner take all, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, so it's winner take all. It's winner take all if you break 50%. Gotcha. Cruz broke 50%.
So he got all of the
delegates.
All the delegates.
All of the delegates.
And Utah had about 40 delegates, right, on the Republican side, somewhere around there.
And the same day, Arizona voted, and that was a winner take all, and that went all to Trump. So. Yep. If Trump had won both states, he would have been back where he needs to be on track to win more than 50% of the Republican vote, which would help him avoid a brokered convention or a contested convention.
And gosh, I'm hoping they do a revote in Arizona. I really think they should. It's being investigated.
I hope so too. I haven't heard it. I've read a bunch of news stories. I've read 6 news stories. None of them have mentioned that.
Really?
That's a possibility. If that is a possibility, that'd be pretty awesome.
Well, tomorrow, it depends on when you post this. It could be, March 28th at 10 a.m., if you go to the Arizona House of Representatives, they're taking public testimony on the election fraud and stuff. And the more people who show up, the better.
Yeah, for sure.
And they have started an investigation, but
And
I
you
don't know.
guys,
We'll
and
see
so
where it goes.
Also, if you're in Arizona, you might want to consider a lawsuit if you weren't able to vote because of that fact. And, and maybe as part of that, they might have to reopen up like a late registration or something.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the results from yesterday.
Yeah, baby.
Bernie swept it again, and he won 70 to 80% on all three.
Yeah.
With Alaska, he won 13 to Hillary's 3. In Hawaii, he won 17 to Hillary's 8. And in Washington,
there's something going on there.
I've got a story on it. So
Okay.
Because Washington has over 100 delegates.
101.
Right now, they're only giving
34.
Bernie,
25 to 9. So Hillary Clinton has 9. Bernie Sanders has 25, and there's 101 delegates, so that only counts for 34 of them. There's still 67 fucking delegates that are just floating around right now.
Yeah, so I've got a story to explain that. And just so you know, when we're talking on this podcast, we're only talking about pledged delegates, because fuck superdelegates and that whole concept, and the superdelegates have always gone to where the pledged delegates go at the convention, even though... for example, last time when it was Hillary versus Barack, she had way more pledged delegates to start off with, or super delegates to start off with. But then once they went to the convention, then the super delegates realigned to elect Barack Obama.
But don't forget, Barack Obama has he's getting campaign contributors by the same people fucking Hillary's getting. And I'm sure a lot of that trickle-down economics... all that money's trickling down to these super fucking delegates. I doubt much of them are going to switch over to Bernie.
Well, no,
it just depends on the popular vote.
Yeah,
they
so
should.
If
they should.
If they
but they
don't,
won't.
and if they don't, then that's a bridge we'll need to cross when we get there, because that means we need to take that party out.
Debbie Weiserman or whatever she said the super delegates are there to stop grassroots movements just like Bernie Sanders. She said it on TV.
If we get to that point, then we'll deal with it. So in the meantime, if you are in one of the future voting states, make sure to go out and vote. Bring your friends, bring your family. Do that. And if we get to the point where super delegates are the factor that causes Bernie to lose, then we'll have to take action. And that's a totally different monster in and of itself. So in Washington, and this is according to, I believe, the Associated Press. It's on CBS local, though, but let's just read the first paragraph. There are 118 delegates, Democratic delegates at stake in Washington, 101 to be rewarded proportionately based on the results of Saturday's caucuses, with 67 allocated based on caucus results, each of the 10 congressional districts, and the other 34 will be proportionally allocated based on congressional district results. Which it looks like, according to the article, that won't happen until April 17th is the date that it's saying here. And it says that they'll most likely go with where the pledged vote goes, and I believe this story. So they haven't all been rewarded. Bernie's above where he should be on that state, even without those.
Can I point something out, too,
Sure.
about Washington really quick?
Sure.
In case anybody missed it, Bernie didn't just win Washington by a huge margin. Sorry,
Margarine.
Charwin.
I'm hungry.
He won every single county. Every single fucking county in Washington, Bernie Sanders
That's
won.
the same thing Obama did.
And so, also something else to point out is this week there were 2 separate elections with 5 states involved. If Bernie Sanders wins by the same margins moving forward, Bernie Sanders will be president.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. You were telling us one of the last times we were on here that he would need to win by at least 60% all the other ones. And so far he's doing 70 and 80%.
Well, we'll cover that in the second half because I've updated all of that. So we'll talk about that at the beginning of the second.
Okay.
The next
Sounds good.
portion of the podcast. But let's move forward. Matt, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. So I don't know if you guys know who Cardinal Pell is.
Pell.
Oh, whoa, Pell. Sorry.
Are you sure it's Pell?
Yeah. Farmer and the Pell.
Yes, it is.
I think I need a beer for this.
It's pretty bad. You're gonna need a beer, Joe.
Okay.
I'll be right back. All right.
Okay, now I'm back with a beer. We're ready to go.
Joe's got his beer, so let's start.
I brought you one too, fuckface.
Oh, hey, thanks.
Yeah. It's
Now
right
I
there.
have a couple beers in front of me.
Oh,
Just the way I like it. So a cardinal, our favorite one, Cardinal Pell, said, and I quote, "Abortion is a bigger sin than priest abuse."
Yeah, and this is coming from. And sorry to interrupt. Actually, go ahead and tell your story. Then I'll.
Okay. So I'll just read a little bit from the article. This is coming from Salon. He says, "I've always been on the side of victims, but the Archbishop of Sydney has a funny way of expressing his support. During an inquiry this week into what the Herald Sun describes as rampant child sexual abuse by priests going back decades, Pell admitted, 'We've been slow to address the anguish of the victims and dealt with it very imperfectly.'" The article goes on, but I want to read exactly what he says, because what I said earlier was not exact. It wasn't a quote. So that's not where Pell's ignorance ends, though. 11 years ago, Pell told a group of World Youth delegates that, quote, "Abortion is a worse moral scandal than priests sexually abusing young people, because abortion, quote, is always a destruction of human life."
Yeah.
So this motherfucker thinks terminating a fetus inside, that's basically, it's a zygote. It's a pile of fucking goo. That's worse than a grown man or woman or whatever abusing sexually a little fucking kid.
Yeah.
And didn't it say priest abuse?
Yes.
Yes.
So, and is this guy, he's a cardinal, so he's part of the
Sydney,
church?
yes, of Sydney.
So right there, he himself is saying that it's better for me to rape a child than it is for you to get an abortion.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he might be a little biased on here, because guess where you will not find the Cardinal of Sydney, Australia?
Where?
In Sydney, Australia.
Really?
He has a warrant for his arrest, essentially.
In Sydney.
Yeah, because
Good.
there's an investigation about child sexual abuse scandals that he has helped cover up.
Really?
Yeah, listen to this. Pell appeared in court with his colleague, Father Gerald Francis Ridsdale. While Ridsdale was on trial for sexual abuse, Ridsdale was eventually convicted of molesting and raping 40 children over a 26-year period.
Fuck.
Yeah.
40 fucking kids. And listen to this. At the inquiry this week, Cardinal Pell defended his support for Ridsdale, saying, quote, "At that stage, nobody knew well, I certainly didn't, what proved to be the full extent of his infamous career. I didn't know that there was a very significant number of charges, but I had no idea about all the other things that would unfold." End quote. But
I feel like it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
Well, and that's what he's being charged with, though, is helping to cover up. So if he's absolutely innocent of covering up anything, he should just go back to Sydney, Australia, and defend himself.
Yeah, because if he's innocent, he'll be fine, right?
Yeah, and
he could just pray to God.
for sure, God can make it all go away, right? And
Yeah.
he can undo all the damage that fucking pervert priest did.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a great quote by Tracy Harris. She's on the Atheist Experience. And she said the difference, and I'm
Paraphrasing.
she says the difference between me and your God either sends a child rapist to rape a kid or watches a child rapist rape a kid and says, "When you're done, I'm going to punish you." The
Yeah.
difference between me and your God is I would stop that fucking child molester.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so we kind of
Charwin?
but we've kind of got to wrap up at this point. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. We're going to leave you guys with some music from the very awesome Tim Minchin, who also is an Australian, as well as Cardinal Pell. He wrote a song specifically for Cardinal Pell, and we're going to exit with that. Is there anything else you guys want to say on our...
No, just subscribe, like, share, do all that stuff. Check us out. We love you guys.
Yeah, the Evil Atheist Facebook group page.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for listening. That went by way too fast. I feel like.
All right.
All right. Yeah. Well, whatever.
It's a lovely day in Ballarat, I'm kicking back, thinking of you. I hear that you've been poorly. I am sorry that you're feeling blue. I know what it's like when you feel a little shitty. You just want to curl up and have an itty bitty do-not day. But a lot of people here really miss you, Georgie. They really think you ought to just get on a plane. We all just want you to come home, Cardinal Pell. I know you're not feeling well, and being crook ain't much fun. Even so, we think you should come home, Cardinal Pell. Come down from your citadel. It's just the right thing to do. They have a right to know what you knew. Couldn't you see what was under your nose, Georgie? Back in 73 when you were living with Jerry. Is it true that you knew but you chose to ignore? Or did you actively try to keep it buried? And years later, when survivors, despite the shame and their fear, stood up to tell their stories, you spent year after year working hard to protect the church's assets. I mean, with all due respect, dude, I think you're scum, and I reckon you should come home, Cardinal Pell. We know you're not feeling well. Perhaps you just need some sun. It's lovely here. You should